Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let's resume what we were doing for the last few days. We're learning in this sefer, a book from Chabad, which is called Likuti Torah, written by the first Rebbe of Chabad. Written by the first Rebbe of Chabad. And our Rebbe said that that's one of the ways to bring Mashiach. We have our Rebbe here. One of the ways to bring Mashiach is by learning this book. Learning this book. Okay. What's Mashiach going to do? Is going to make the world aware of the Creator and how good the Creator is, how good God is, and how much God loves each one of us, and how good we are. Like it says in the Bible, that man is made in the image of God. Every human being is essentially, intrinsically, basically good. And Mashiach is just going to reveal this. Okay, so that's basically also what we're talking about here. What are we talking about? But before we continue, let us give charity. Let's give charity, which that's basically what we're talking about here also, is charity. Charity saves from death. Charity saves from all bad things, brings all good blessings, charity to give. That's also what we're talking about here, that God does charity with the world, that he gives us. So he gives us and he wants to continue giving us. One thing God gives us is life. We're all alive. It's pretty amazing. And God gives us also certain senses, seeing, hearing, understanding. But that's only the how do you say, the preparation. God gives this amazing gift, which is called free will. Free will. And God gives us responsibility, another gift. No less important than free will, and really they're attached one to the other. We have free will to full responsibility to God or not to do it. You can do whatever you want. Either you can do what you want or you can do what God wants. And what happens when you do what God wants is then there's health in the world. Then there's meaning in the world. There's blessing in the world. And that's basically what we're talking about over here. There was a disease in the time of the Holy Temple. It was the spiritual disease, which was called Sarat. Sarat. The person who got it was called a Matzora. That's what these two Torah portions are talking about this week. And it wasn't caused by germs, or it wasn't called by virus, even though there's some say that it's called by a virus. A virus. A virus means sins. In a virus. Anyway, it was called by sins, a particular sin of speaking disparagingly about others in a way that could cause harm to others. That's called lashon hara. It caused this disease, but it was caused by other things also, by haughtiness and this. But it was a spiritual thing, and it was basically caused by egotism, false egotism, because you think, you're God, so you can say whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. So the sign that the person was not, the sign that the person was not fulfilling his responsibility to God was that he got these blotches on it, or one blotch, whatever it is, a discoloration of the skin, and a hair grew in it. And that was a sign that the person was spiritually impure. He had to go outside of the camp, and he was the highest level of impurity that could be, just like a dead body. And that if he repented, so then he could be cured. Right? Okay. So what we're talking about now here mostly is the idea of the cure, of the cure for this disease. Now, this disease does not exist in its manifested, obvious state today. Right? The cause of it certainly does, but if people got this disease because of speaking bad or doing bad things, so everybody would have it nowadays. I don't think anybody would have. You'd have to close down all the newspapers, all the religious newspapers. Everybody says bad things about people, right? But it's not a good thing to do. It's a bad thing to do. And the reason is because what are you occupied with other people's bad? You should be occupied in doing more good. And if you're talking about anybody's bad, work on your own bad. Don't talk about other people's bad. Okay, so now the Rebbe is talking about over here, not just the physical part of it. He's talking about the spiritual cause of it. And this spiritual cause is existent today. And it causes the world to be a sick place, which the world is pretty sick. I mean, when it comes down to it, if you look and see, the world is a pretty sick place. A person that's sick, as he becomes more egotistical, he thinks, don't make any noise, don't open the window, it's cold, I'm hot, I'm warm, I'm this, right? I'm hungry, I'm miserable, I'm this, right? Don't touch me, don't move me, don't do it, don't say, right? A person is sick as, be how do you say, be quiet, hospital zone, don't talk. Don't talk, don't honk your horn outside, at 100 meters away. Because a person that's sick, he becomes more egotistical, which that's the thing that made him sick in the first place. Because how do you get out of this cycle of egotism brings this more egotism, and that brings more egotism, and bring more selfishness and more? How do you get out of it? Because that's what we're talking about over here. That's what we're talking about. First of all, we're talking about the disease itself, and then we're talking about how to cure it. So there's a weird story in the Talmud. We've been over this a lot of times. The weird story in the Talmud in Baba Metzia. And it says over there that there are these details for this disease. If the discoloration occurs and then afterwards there's a hair that grows then the person is impure. But if the hair precedes the discoloration of the skin, then the person is normal. That's not a sign of impurity. And what if you don't know which one was first? So that's where this starts off. There's a big argument in heaven between the Holy One, blessed be He, between God and the heavenly court. We got HaKodesh Baruch Hu and the Metifta de Rikia. And they can't come to a decision. They can't tell this. God says that the person is pure, because if there's a doubt, he's okay, he's pure, he's not defiled. And the heavenly court says the person is defiled. Can't take any chances. This is a Torah matter, and Torah matters, you have to be severe. So they can't come to a conclusion. They say, well, let's ask Rabba Bar Chana, right? And so they ask Rabba Bar Chana, and he says, is that right, what I said? Rabba Bar Chana. Did I forget already? I forgot already the thing. Wait a second here. Let me. Sometimes I forget things. 1 second. Give me a second. Yeah, Rabbi Bar Nachmani. I'm sorry. He said, ask Rabbi Bar Nachmani, and he'll this. And it ended up that he was about to die. Anyway, that's a long story. He was about to die, and as he was dying, they asked him this question, and he said, Tohor. I agree with God. Okay. So the Rebbe says, what's going on? What type of weird story is this? Right? What is this? There's a heavenly court that can disagree with God. What does that mean? And then they have to ask a person in the world, and he makes the decision. How can it be? And so the Rebbe is giving a short rundown of what we learned up to now. So the Rebbe said, let's understand what are the rabbis of the Talmud? Who are they? What happened over there? Who are these rabbis of the Talmud? They just sat around all day and discussed these, minute, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin or something like that. That's what says, no, you got the whole thing wrong. The whole world is created from the Torah. And God doesn't just want the world to be the way it is, created. He wants the world to be improved. He wants the world to be perfected. And that's why the Torah is here. And just like in a human being, right? A human being, usually if a person is sick, is because something is wrong internally, internal medicine. Sometimes it's true, a person can even get in an accident, gets hit in the head or something like that, and he's bleeding. But usually most diseases are internal. He has a germ, a bacteria, a virus, his circulation, something's wrong with the circulation, something's wrong with his nervous system, with his circulatory system, with his respiratory system. So something's wrong internally. And says the Rebbe, the whole entire physical world is tremendously important to God. But there's an internal, just like people give birth to a baby, a child, that the child is precious to them, but the child has an internal, he's got a heart and a lungs. The parents, they don't care about the lungs, they care about the child. But, But in fact, the internals are very important. That's what keeps a person alive, right? There's no internals in the inside. It's like buy a doll. You go and go to a store, you buy a doll, and the little kids, they love a doll, but it's not really alive. There's no heart, there's no lungs, there's no anything inside of it. It's like a person. Well, the same thing with the world. The world is like a big person. And there's all these internal workings, and the internal workings are discussed in Kabbalah and things like that. Part of these internal workings are what we said is the heavenly court and HaKodesh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He. The Holy One, blessed be He. This is two aspects of God we talked about. We talked about this before. How God surrounds the world, how God is above the world, above time, above place, above this. He creates the world, He creates it. And how God is in the world, how He enlivens the world, He keeps the world in existence, all the details of the world. So that's two aspects of God. The heavenly court, they're the ones that learn Torah, and the Torah is what draws godliness into the world. But as we know only too well, there can be imperfections and disorders. What do you call it? Disorders? In the internal organs. The same thing is there can be disruptions in the relationship between the heavenly court and the Holy One, blessed be He. How do you make it healthy again? How can you decide what's right with what the diseases you have to? Like there's some doctors that they're very good at curing, but they're very bad at at detecting the disease. No, they can't make a diagnosis. There's some doctors that are experts at making diagnosis. And there's other doctors that once someone makes the diagnosis, then they can fix things up. They can fix things up. And it says, here is a question of diagnosis. If there's a doubt whether the white comes first, the discoloration comes before the hair, is the person sick or is he not sick? So that's the argument between God. It says you want to understand what the answer is, you have to go to someone that learns Torah in this world. Because God gave the Torah in this world. And the Torah is the essence of God. The Torah is not just in like any other Bible that's telling a story. But the Torah is not, the Bible is telling a story, but we're the main character. It's an active thing that's going on right now. And if a person gets to the level of purity of like Rabbi Bar Nachmani, like we said before, then he can also decide he can change things. And they bring stories that there were men of the Talmud that they could raise the dead. And it says that, what is it, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair said he was able to split the sea like Moses did. They do these amazing miracles. Okay. That's where we're at. Let's go. All right, so we're getting a little bit Kabbalistic over here, and the main interaction over here is four main sfirot, if you want, aspects of God. One is called Chachma. Chachma is, for our purposes, is like the essence of God. Even though other places it says it's just an aspect of God, but it's an aspect of God that expresses God's essence. That's above understanding. In human nature, that's called faith. Then there's understanding of God. That's called Bina. That's like this heavenly court. One second, someone. W. That's like the heavenly court. Then there's Tiferet. Tiferet is drawing this into the world, into the physical world. And then there's Malchut. Malchut, that's the world. Okay, so let's go. Here we go. Ready? Let's see what we got. Here we go.
Rabbi Boto, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning, W. How are you?
I've been trying to log in for 5 minutes already. What's going on?
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. You're waiting. I didn't see. There's no like bell or something like that. There's an indication, and there's all these icons on the top of the page which you don't see, but you were hidden behind one of them. So it's not because I don't like you, and it's not because I'm trying to ignore you, and it's not because of anything wrong with me. Maybe there's something.
I didn't say that.
Because of these icons that are on the top of the page, and they come for innocent, and I have nothing to say. Here we go. Let's go.
Okay, no problem.
I'm sorry, but listen, you have to admit it's maybe the first time it happened. I just saw it right now that you're waiting. Okay, I'm sorry.
Problem. All good.
You're welcome. I'm sorry. Like they say,
Right.
better. Okay. Look, and therefore, kasher or Abba, when the light of this chachma, when this wisdom of God, and I want to give an example of this, Shabo Malubash, that in it is the infinite light of God, by means of this is made Hitkalut v'yichud or in sof, then there is unified what's called the 10 sphirot of Atzilut, 10 aspects of God in the upper worlds, because Chachmatz is attached to the essence of God. Then, by the way, Lo Tuchal Klippas Noga of Atzilut, then there can't be Klippat Noga of Atzilut to be Yanika from Or Adam, from the skin of the upper man. You understand that? I'll explain it. I'll try to explain it. The Hainu Bechina Zer Anpin, that's what's called God's small faces. Okay, the Rebbe explained before in the previous program, we sort of skipped over it. We said God has a personality, right? And just like I finished saying just now, this is like the internal organs of all of the world. By the world, I'm talking about the angels and all this other. Okay, so the highest aspect of God, which is irrelevant to the world, that's the man that Ezekiel and Isaiah saw sitting on the throne. That's this aspect of, it's called Atzilut. Atzilut is the 10 pure aspects of God's personality. There's really, we shouldn't have any permission even to talk about this, because you might think that God is like a person. But nevertheless, God did this. He has what's called 10 aspects of his personality. And when we pray to God, that's what's called the Holy One, Atzilut. And blessed be he, that's how this level of Atzilut comes down into the lower worlds, or even more in Atzilut itself. There's the level of Chachma, that's called the Holy One. And below that, that's God's emotions, that's called blessed be he. So God's Chachma, that's what's called the Holy One. And Zer Anpin, that's another name for small faces, that's God's emotions. So that's what's happening. The Rebbe is telling us this is what's happening in the upper worlds. I remember, I'm just giving an example. I remember, I finished university anyway. I learned, anyway, whatever I did in university, mostly I wasted my time. But then afterwards, I got a job as being a janitor somewhere, and I used to finish my job quick, and I would read books. So one of the books I remember I read was Freud. Freud has these amazing books. Sigmund Freud, amazing. Man was just amazing. Incredible. He was wrong with everything he said, but he had absolutely, everything he said was wrong, but he had absolutely no doubts about anything. He knew everything, every aspect. Anyway, he held about, I don't know, 2 generations and he hypnotized them. Everybody, parents were afraid of their children. They had the Oedipus complex stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is when Freud came out and he explained what is the real inner workings of a person's psyche, everyone went berserk. They all went, wow, now we know what's going on inside of our children, what's going on inside of me, what's going on inside. We have to act accordingly, So like I say, parents were afraid of their children, and they all promiscuity started becoming, a byword by everybody. You had those, you don't have people that have sexual repression and all sorts of neuroses and psychosis. Okay, like I say, he was wrong with whatever he said, but the point is he explained the inside of what was going on. And people thought, wow, I always knew there was something inside, going on inside of a person. Before that, a person, they thought mentally ill is if there's just one thing, it's just like one disease, like the common cold or something. And all of a sudden he starts explaining the dynamics of it. Okay, like I say before, what he said was not right, but the effect that he had on everyone, that everyone he said they changed their whole conduct. So that's what the Rebbe is trying to do. He's trying to give us a true picture of really what's going on inside, not inside of us psychologically, but what's going inside of the whole universe realistically. Realistically. So the Rebbe says that God exists and God creates the world and God interacts with the world. God cares about the world. And God reacts to the world and the world reacts to what God does. So he says, according to how we learn the Torah here in this physical world, that makes health in the world. So when you learn Torah in this world, it draws down from this level of Chachma, of Atzilut, the highest level of God's reality, as far as we're concerned in this mimer, into God's emotions. God's emotions are God's kindness, God's strength, God's severity. So it makes the world a healthy place. It says, then there's what's called, so it says, in the world of Atzilut, there's also what's called Klipat Noga. Let's see, what's this? Klipat Noga. Okay, what is Klipat Noga? Klippa means creation. Klippa, anything that's created is a clip. Why is a klippa? Klippa means a shell. A shell covers over the fruit. The fruit is godliness. The creation covers over godliness. That's what God wants. So there's a lot of the shells which cannot be used. We're here to fix up the world, right? We're here to fix up the world. So there's what's called Klipat Noga. Klipat Noga means the creation that can be used in order to reveal God. Nature, simple nature. Is nature bad or is nature good? So according to normal, nature is is not bad and it's not good. It's just there. Nature is bad and good. According to Hasidic teachings, we have a new definition of what's bad and what's good. What's bad and what's good. Bad is anything that covers over God. So it ends up that the creation is bad. It's not the type of bad you get punished for. If a person acts normally, naturally, right, that's called bad. Why is it called bad? Because there's something much better. Much better, infinitely better. What's infinitely better? To act in a godly way. The Jews, the Torah, the non-Jews, the 7 Noahide commandments, that's called good. Doing what God wants, that's called good. It reveals God. Reveals God. Reveals godliness in the world. It reveals truth. So this physical world as it is not true. It's not true. The world is called the world of lies. Why? Because nature is not true. It's really not true. It's not really right. What's right? True? True is Torah. True is the Torah. Animals, they can't do the Torah. Rocks, buildings, they don't do the Torah. But if you use the animal for what God wants, or you learn something from an animal how to serve God, then that transforms it to be good. You used it for the purpose it was created for, to teach a person about how to act better. You use your house in order to do good deeds, to be charitable, whatever. Then that's called Klipat Noga. It's called Klippa that cleanses, but it shines. It has the potential to shine. This potential comes even from the world of Atzilut. But as it is, it's bad. It doesn't reveal God. But if it's used properly, it does. Says the Rebbe, that's the source of this tzorat we talked about before. As I talked about before. So we have, therefore, when there shines this light of Chachma, of the essence of God, the reason why we're here in the world, where there enclosed the light of Ein Sof. In other words, there is the light of what godliness is. By means of this, Meza Hiskalus, then there is a harmony and a unification of the 10 Sfirot of Atzilut together, right? Like when the conductor stands up in front of the orchestra and he taps his thing, then all the instruments, all of a sudden they become unified because there's one plan. They're playing according to one. The same with the world, the same with the human being, right? When he's devoted to truth, then that all of a sudden unifies everything. Then, by means of this, the Klipat Noga of Atzilut cannot give any nurture to bad. That's what's called the skin of the man, the upper man, the man sitting on the throne we talked about before that Isaiah saw. Atzilut, the source of reality, cannot give any nurture to bad. The Adainu, namely this level of Zer Anpin, the emotions, how they Shabo. The Shabbat, and like is it in it, Ein Meir Shum Ha'orat or Ein Sof Yitkalud Yachod. Then when can bad exist? When there's no unity between the different, let's say, the forces of creation. Ki Shorish Noga, the source of this is from the breaking of the vessels from the world of Tohu. This is Kabbalistic stuff, but you're going to be big Kabbalists when we finish this class today. Very good. God, before he created the world, he had a plan for the world. Part of this plan of the world was the 10 Sfirot, the 10 aspects of godliness. So God started the 10 aspects of godliness. He purposely broke them so that there would be the confusion in the world that we have to fix up. I think we gave this example about 50 times already, but it's like taking a puzzle. You ever go into a store, you buy a puzzle? Some people like to put puzzles together. They get a big pleasure of putting puzzles together. So there's, little children have a 10-piece puzzle. You get a little older, you have a 20-piece puzzle. You have a 50-piece puzzle. You get really, I'm saying there's a new type of a puzzle that God made. This piece has you go to the store, you buy a puzzle, a 1,000,000-piece puzzle. A 1,000,000-piece puzzle. So this thing is huge. It's a huge, big box. Little tiny pieces, and you go and you take it home, you open it up, 1,000,000 pieces, you look inside, and there's 1,000,000,000 pieces. 1,000,000,000 pieces. 1,000,000,000 pieces. It's supposed to be 9. So what does it mean? It means that there's 999 million pieces which are not relevant to the puzzle. Only 1,000,000 pieces are puzzle. So those 999 million pieces, a billion is 1,000 million, right? So 999, you have to figure out what they are and get rid of them. Put them on the side. Then the 1,000,000 pieces you have to put together. The same thing is in the world. In the world, there's bad. There's a lot of bad. There's a lot of confusion that just doesn't have any place in the world. That's what's called impure klippa. Impure, things that are just bad. Idolatry, licentiousness, things that are forbidden according to the Torah. Forbidden to the Torah. Sexual relationships, right? They're just not permissible. Person can't have relations with somebody else's wife, with his mother, with a man with a man. Those things can't be fixed up. Those are bad. Idolatry. Those things can't be fixed up. That's part of the 999 million pieces. You just have to avoid them. Anger, depression, things like that. Avoid it. Avoid it. But then there's the other 1,000,000 pieces that we have to put together. How do you put it together? You keep looking all the time at the picture on the cover of the box. The same thing with the world. You have to look constantly at the Torah. How is the world supposed to be? That's what Chassidut is. You have to look at the picture. That's what the Rebbe is trying to do, is trying to paint a picture of how the world is supposed to be. So it says the fact that there's breaking, that all this original picture is all broken up, that's like the breaking of the vessels. It's called the Shavirat HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels of the world of Tohu. And the point is that if you look at the pieces as they are together, there's no harmony there. You can't tell the picture at all. You can't tell what you're supposed to do. And then because there's no unity, there's no picture, then there can be Yanika Leklipat Noga. Then there can be a nurture for the bad side of Atzilut, from the light of Malchut, or from the Malchut, that's the lowest of the 10 spirit, or from what we call God's emotions. So it's like in a world where, let's say, the time when there's economic depression. So when there's economic depression and you don't see anything happy, nothing, that then all of a sudden can step in, Stalin or Hitler or someone, and say, oh, you're in a bad state, right? You don't see any order in the world. Do what I say, and then evil takes over. Evil takes over. The same thing. If there's no chachma, if there's no order in the world, there's no hope, there's no faith, then evil takes over. And even a person's life. A person has no faith in anything good. He has no hope for anything better. He doesn't feel any responsibility to something greater than himself. Then evil sets in. He gets depressed. He gets addicted. He gets the aggressive. He goes crazy. Says that's the whole idea of the nega. That's the whole idea of this tzorat. Namely, that there is nurturing what's called the potential for evil of Atzilut, the nature in Atzilut, and it because there's no harmony there. If there's no harmony there, then there is a nurture from the Yanikas, from the skin of Zion Nukvin of Atzilut, of the emotions and Malchut of Atzilut. Okay, so we've just explained this whole big explanation, which I tried to sort of make sense, and I tried to make it make sense to me also, about what is the source of bad in the world. What is the source of of war in the world, of disease in the world, of bad things in the world, and of evil in general, of death, of pain. What's the source? It's supposed to be the world is supposed to be perfect. God creates the world. God is perfect. How can there be bad in the world? There's no place where God is not. So he says, it's true. God is everywhere, but there can be confusion. There can be confusion. It's just like this puzzle that we had, it's all there. The puzzle is there, but it's all confused. It's confused. It's not there. You have to put it together. How do we put it together? By looking at the picture on the cover all the time. You have to constantly have faith. I can give you another example, maybe. Let's say business, right? Money is a good thing. Money is a good thing. Money, potential is a good thing. Not like Karl Marx said. Karl Marx was a very, how do you say, depressed, negative, terribly negative person. He was in his personal life and everything. He was unclean. He was a dirty person. The Karl Marx, look a little bit of Karl, a terrible disappointment. But he had this brilliant idea that we have to have a world without money. You have to have a world without money. Everything's going to be equal. Why shouldn't everything be equal? Everything's going to be equal. Of course, that's like taking a puzzle and cutting the whole thing up, and everything is equal, right? You look at all the pieces. There's no house, there's no tree, there's no up, there's no down. It's just all confusion. That's good. That's good. Everything is equal. That's what he wants to do. He says, well, that's the way it is in the world of Atzilut. Let's take again money. So you have to go to business and you have to work in business. Okay, but there's a saying: money is the root of all evil. Why? Because you get into business, all of a sudden you start to think, I want to make money. Anything I can do to make money, and you steal a little bit, you get away with it, and it feels really good. And then you figure out better ways to steal, and you spend your money, you spend your time and your energy thinking about how to steal, and you make big hits. You make a lot of money, right, by stealing and lying and cheating. Meanwhile, it wrecks you up personally because you're always uptight. Maybe I'm going to get caught. Maybe I'm going to do this. But what does it mean to get rid of money? First, to get rid of no. So what are you supposed to do? So it says, when you're making money, what do you have? You have two things. You want to receive, you're lacking, and you want to have the money is putting in it. That's like Zer Anpin. That's like God's emotions, so to speak. That's it, God's emotions. God's emotions are the giving aspect and the receiving aspect. That's the Holy One, blessed be He, so to speak. That's God's emotions. That's the blessed be He part of it. That's the God's emotions. There's a lacking and there's a giving. There's a good, there's how do you say, the side of giving and the side of receiving, the side of severity, the side of this, the side of this. Okay, but so a person is in, that's like emotions. You get all emotional about the money. This one. How do you fix it up? How is it supposed to be in the world? How is it supposed to be in the world? America got it right. They wrote on all of the money, in God we trust. And the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, pointed out, trust is not faith. Trust means that you trust that if you're honest, you trust God with your money. There's people I believe in, they're my friends, but I don't trust them with money. You give a person money and who knows what's going to be with it. Right? Maybe they won't pay you back, maybe who knows what. Can you trust God with money? I don't know. I don't know. Here I have a chance to either make a little lie and make $1 million, or to be honest and I might lose money. I don't know. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? So the simple answer is just lie. You'll make the money. What do you do? But the true answer is be honest. Trust God. You trust God, it'll be okay. But maybe it won't be okay. Right. That's 100% it won't be. But you trust God that it will be. That's what trust is. Trust means where there's a doubt, but you trust God, that God will take care of your money. Don't worry. You have to work. You have to do but you have to do it honestly. You have to do the way God wants. If the world works in such a way, then of course everybody's going to be uptight. Maybe it won't work. Maybe it won't work. Hey, forget about that. Put your trust in God. That's the message of Judaism to the world. Put your trust in the creator of the universe. You'll be more healthy. Don't be nervous. Don't have doubts. Put your trust. You have to work. You have to be honest. You have to build your business. You should be rich. You should be everything, successful, everything, but only on God's terms. That's called bringing the Holy One, blessed be He, into Zer Anpin. It's called the Holy One into blessed be He. It's talking bringing godliness into the world. If there is no godliness, then there's disease, or at least a big doubt. Okay, that's the whole idea of naga. That's the whole idea of the sorat we're talking about, namely the klippus noga of Atzilut gets nurtured from the external part of Atzilut, this confused part, the confused the puzzle that I talked about. This thing about the puzzle I made up, so you can unmake it also. I mean, it's not 100%. If the Rebbe gives an example, then you know that it's true. If I give an example, take it with a lot of grains of salt. But that's what I think. Look, and therefore, hatikun. How do you fix this up? This is what we want to get to. Therefore, how do we fix up all of the improper, but the improper this disease of false egotism, of confusion, etc., is you have to bring the person to the Kohen. The Kohen, this is drawing down what's called the light of Chachma, faith, trust in God. That this pushes away the chitzonim, the external forces. That there won't be any nurture for bad, for selfishness. Rak misarot the nukva, the lo me'or atzmo, only from the hairs, but not from the skin itself. There won't be a discoloration. Therefore, it says if the hair comes first before the discoloration, then the person is pure. Is not impure. Why? Because hairs is not really part of the person. Looking, therefore, a nega hu be'eris lavana. Therefore, this plague is only when the skin is white. For instance, in a person who in histalkos adam, the blood goes away from that place because blood has the soul in it. The soul is this level of chachma that's above understanding. Look at another place, and etc., and etc., etc. The kachlamayla also is above by God. Also, this level of God's chachma, which is drawn down by our learning Torah. Tichiyah, this brings life into the world. We said that Sorat also comes, the blood goes away. Blood goes away. Blood is life. Blood is, in our case, life. It's like chachma, is pure life, above understanding. This is the level of Adam. That's how the sentence starts off. Adam ki yeba b'or basaro. A man, Adam. The word Adam is Aleph. Aleph stands for God, the number one, and Dam, blood. Ubistalkos or Abba, when the blood goes away, who in histalkos, this is going away, this level of chachma, this idea of trust in God, faith in God, it goes away, then God is not there. That all of a sudden comes the egotism of tzorat. That's the whole idea. But afterwards, if this discoloration comes first, then the blood wasn't there, and that now it's ready for all these bad things to set in, like we said before, depression, aggression, etc., crime. Afterwards, when the white hair comes, then the white hair, it draws from the skin, from the skin, by means of this hair, white hair. Therefore, he has to close the person. The person has to be closed away. The person is declared to be impure, and he has to be closed away. Seger means he has to be closed away. And then you bring the coin. Okay, then it says where does it goes up to? This goes up to here. Masha Enkin, which is not the case if the hairs come first. Lochen, therefore, Mia Sarot from the hairs is God says it's okay. From the hairs alone, there can be nurture to the bad side. Why? Because there's certain aspects of bad that can be used. Certain aspects of bad, for instance, from depression can come seriousness. Seriousness is a good thing. Depression is being over serious. You're over serious. You'll be worried about that. On the other hand, we just finished learning. You don't give secrets of the Torah except to one who is worried inside. He's bitter because he's far away from God. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Being dissatisfied with your spiritual situation, that's a wonderful thing. That's a good thing to be dissatisfied spiritually. You have to be happy with what you have, but you shouldn't be satisfied with what you have. So it says the hairs, that's the possibility that there can be all of these, so to speak, negative things. But if the negative things are attached to something good, then you can use the negativity, depression, you can use it and put it into seriousness, right? You can use anger and put it into, how do you say, industriousness, being dynamic, getting things done. Bad anger is the destructive side of it. So these hairs indicate how you can be attached to things that are potentially not good. But if the hairs come before the white skin, then the person is considered to be pure. Lochen, the cave since the sar lavan, that if white hair comes before the discoloration of the skin, then the white hair alone, first of all, was attached to regular skin, so therefore it can be fixed up, it can be fixed. It can be used for good. Therefore, it hasn't got any unica from nurture from the bad. Rakmi asarot, only from the hairs. Therefore, it's called tahor. But if the beharis, if the discoloration comes first, then, namely, then and afterwards comes the hairs, then the hairs come from something that's bad. Then the person has to be closed up. Segura has to be closed away. Segura Nahora, namely the light of God, is closed up. This is the mochin of Abba. This is what we call faith, connection to something above you. This is taken away. You become a big egotist and you can't possibly imagine there's anything other than you. That's the idea of Beharis, that this stops, it prevents the circulation of the soul in your blood, the blood circulation from in this place. And that's the whole idea of preventing faith, preventing trust in God from taking a part in our personal life. Therefore, it says if the white comes first, it's a sign that there is circulation has not reached to that place in your skin. Faith of God has not, trust in God has not reached this certain aspect of your personality. Then the hairs that come out of it is called impure. Impure. Okay. What's going to be the cure to all of this business? What's going to be the cure? The cure is going to be the rabbis learning the Torah. If the rabbis learn properly the Torah, then that fixes everything up. And this we're going to have to talk about tomorrow. It says, okay, what if there's a doubt? What if there's a doubt? You don't know, did the hair come first? So God, who is purely mercy, says pure. And the court, the heavenly court, which that is severity, law, strict law, they say impure. Why? Because according to the way they understand it, any doubt, which is a Torah doubt, if it comes from the doubt, then you have to be severe. But God, he says that it's pure, tahor. Why? Because in this case, you shouldn't make a person impure unless you certainly know that the person is impure. But if it's a little bit of a doubt that the person has a potential to have faith or not, you don't know for sure what happened first. If the person, first of all, began on the wrong foot, he began in egotism, and then afterwards the hair grew, you don't know. So there can be that maybe it was that the, nevertheless, here, because it is only just the decree of the Torah, and you're not really sure if the person is impure or not. Therefore, says God, the person is not impure. Namely, because kol shalom noda, anytime was not known 100%, then that the things are going bad, then you have to be good. Okay, so the Rebbe says, God is merciful. Therefore, if there is a doubt if this person is impure or not, so God says, let's say pure. God is mercy. The heavenly court says, if you're going to do that, then there won't be any bad in the world, right? That everybody's just going to do what they want to. You have to be strict. How did Rabbi Bar Nachmani, how did he decide it? I'm going to tell you later. But there is in the Mishnah, if you look in the Mishnah, a very interesting Mishnah. It's the end of Makot, the first chapter of Makot, the end of the first chapter of Makot. Mishnah, look over there and see. So it says a very interesting thing. It says, first of all, in Judaism, there's a death penalty, right? There's a death penalty. There's a lot of crimes that are punishable by death. And there's 4 different types of death, according to the penalty. It's all spiritual stuff, but it's death. The court kills the person, right? The person. So it says over there, right in the end of the first chapter, it says that a court in Judaism, first of all, there's no death penalty anymore. 40 years before the temple was destroyed, there was no death penalty. The death penalty was gone. 40 years before the temple was destroyed, the death penalty was scrapped. There's no death penalty anymore. Okay, but nevertheless, when there was a death penalty, so it says that a court that killed someone that actually implemented this once every 7 years was called a killing court, a Beit Din Chablanit, a destructive court. And another opinion says no, 7 years for sure. If a court killed someone once every 70 years, that was called a hanging court. How do you say, a court a destructive court. Comes along Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon, and they said, if we were rabbis in the time, they were after the destruction of the temple, if we were rabbis in the time when there was a death penalty, no one would ever get killed. Never, not even in 70 years. Because it's so difficult to have someone killed. According to Torah law, you have to have proper witnesses. They have to say exactly the same thing. The person has to be warned. He has to immediately do the sin after he's warned. Details which are, said no one would get killed. Says the Mishnah, if so, you're increasing murderers in Israel. You're increasing crime in Israel. But Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon, they had the opinion of God. Anytime there's a little tiny bit of a doubt, you have to go lenient. You have to go lenient. But according to the strict law of the Torah, they have to implement the death penalty sometime. If not, there's no death penalty, then there's no law. There's no law. People just do what they want. Right? So what's the final law? How should we act? So it says, they asked Rabbi Bar Nachmani. Rabbi Bar Nachmani, he came to the conclusion, and this will explain how it is tomorrow. And from this, we're going to understand what the Torah is and what the rabbis who learned the Torah are. And how all those people were enemies of Judaism. The first thing they always struck at was the rabbis. The rabbis don't know, the rabbis the rabbis are fooling us, the rabbis are too strict, the rabbis do this, the rabbis. What the qualification to be rabbi is also not so simple, but there are qualifications, there are such things as rabbis, and they're the ones that really determine what's right and what's wrong. And here we have the case where he determines like God. That's like we learned about with Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon. They said if we were rabbis, nobody would ever get killed. True leniency. Okay, now we're going to learn the Devar Malchut.